Good day guys, nice to have you here. Today we'll talk about some of the best picks for Season 28 and possibly the coming months as well. This is a prediction and could change depending on whether Moonton will roll out the adjustments to the regional server or not. Usually though, they do. Also, these heroes were chosen based on the following factors. These heroes were grouped according to their primary roles officially listed in the game, not the lanes nor areas they are ideally played in, and are not sorted according to how good they are since a lot of them are equally effective. And finally, we'll also share some recommendations for each hero that will certainly help you gain more wins. If you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like, share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Edith is a very powerful tank carry capable of not just knocking enemies airborne, but also dealing tremendous damage without buying a single damage item. I strongly believe Inspire is the best battle spell for her in order to deal as much damage as possible while in her ultimate form. Before using her ultimate form though, use her skills first to set enemies up with her airborne control skills. Then finish off the rest of the enemies using her ultimate form by dishing out ridiculous amounts of damage. Also, like I said earlier, I highly suggest keeping her physical and/or magic defense high since that's what fuels her ultimate's damage output. Edith has a low base defense, so her early game resilience is mediocre. In fact, some fighters have higher base defense than Edith, and since her HP pool is fairly high, choosing heroes that deal stronger damage based on the target's HP are ideal counters against her. Another weakness Edith has are her skills. All of them are ground targeted and are all therefore easily avoidable by heroes with good mobility. It might be a good idea to avoid heroes like Carry, D-Roth, and Martis. Atlas is still a very formidable pick this season. He is capable of easily getting into a good position thanks to his second skill allowing him to set enemies effectively using his ultimate, and with Flicker's help it's even easier to set enemies up. There is no other role suitable for him besides being a roamer, and try to avoid heroes that can cleanse his ultimate. After all, it's the main reason you want to play Atlas. Some heroes you might want to avoid are Diggy, 1-1, and Balir. Glue is a very resilient hero that is excellent in chasing down and slowing enemies thanks to his ultimate. It also allows him to pick enemies' core heroes or carries, which can give the team a huge advantage once they are taken down, since a portion of the damage Glue receives while mounted on an enemy hero is applied to them. Be careful though, since turret damage won't be dealt on his host. Also, try to avoid heroes that have very strong spell vamp, have very good mobility, or have skills that benefit from hitting multiple targets. It might be a good idea to avoid heroes like Claude, Alice, and of course, Barretts. Melissa's ability to outmatch the opposing marksman in the lane thanks to her second skill, which gives her significant range advantage and damage, is what makes her terrifying. To any marksman, gaining experience and gold fast is one of your primary goals in order to become stronger, and if you're up against Melissa, that will be easier said than done. Her ultimate is an amazing tool for keeping melee heroes away or pinning them down against a wall. This ultimate of hers has a limited range though, so heroes who can hit her while her ultimate is active are bad news for Melissa. You might want to avoid heroes like Xborg, Eve, and Farsa. Carry has one of the craziest passives in the game, which allows her to deal sustained true damage against any hero. It's already bad news for a vast majority of the heroes, and it's even worse for heroes with high HP since her true damage scales based on how high their HP is. Golden Staff is a must-have item since it allows her to gain stacks or apply more marks on the target, which triggers her true damage. The problem with Carry is she does not have any means to protect herself against fast-moving heroes who can lock her down using control skills or destroy her before she even gets an advantage using her true damage. Heroes with complete or partial immunity against her attacks can also give her a hard time. You might want to avoid heroes like Karina, Argus, and Lolita. 1-1 may be one of the weakest marksmen in the early game, but she can be problematic as soon as she gains enough experience and at least 2 of her damage items. She also has a cleansing ability, which makes it challenging for other heroes to pin her down. To make matters worse for other heroes, her ultimate, if successfully activated, renders her untouchable. The problem with her is she has very underwhelming base damage. This makes heroes capable of outdamaging her before she gets the chance of maneuvering to activate her ultimate a vital choice. You might want to avoid heroes like Farsa, Valir, and Leslie. Arlott is a very powerful fighter carry thanks to his passive that allows his second skill to dash towards one enemy to another while dealing tremendous damage and simultaneously regenerating some of his HP. He can be a very good hero in clutch situations since his second skill cannot be interrupted as well during its movement, which give him a bit of partial immunity. Arlott's damage output is also good enough without too many damage items. 2 to 3 should be sufficient, and since he can regenerate HP using some of his skills, buying Bloodlust Axe is no longer a necessity, and you can focus on items with greater damage or defenses instead. The problem with Arlott is when he is fighting heroes with better HP sustain, basically heroes that become more powerful the longer the battle drags, or heroes that benefit from his dash skills. You might want to avoid heroes like Yu Zhong, Phoveus, and Mincythar. Badang is a tremendous help in teamfights because of his knockback and stun effects. He also makes it incredibly hard for a lot of heroes to go about their business because of the wall he can summon to the battlefield. A lot of heroes also are starting to perform bad because of certain item changes such as the Halberd, which now not just reduces regeneration effects, it also deals higher damage to enemies with higher extra HP. And of course, Twilight Armor, which now reduces burst damage to a much lower and significant value. And since Badang is built and deals damage differently, he's not impacted as much as other heroes. The only problem with Badang is he relies too much on his control skills, so once that's taken away from him, his significance dramatically drops. You might want to avoid heroes like 1-1, Valir, and Diggy. Mincythar received a revamp which turned him into a powerful killing machine thanks to his broken second skill, which allows him to shred enemies in front of its range. Right now though, he is ideally played as a jungler and built with mostly damage items to take advantage of his improved skill damage mechanics. The problem with Mincythar is he relies too much on good positioning. A perfect example is his second skill, which prevents him from turning left and right whenever it is active. This makes it difficult for him to go against heroes that can displace him away from his intended target or against heroes that can easily run away from his ultimate's range, or worse, heroes that are capable of defeating him face to face even while inside his ultimate. You might want to avoid heroes like Akai, Diggy, and Argus. Valir can be a very vital part of any team, especially in a meta that is dominated by heroes that rely on control skills in order to be effective. His ultimate allows him to cleanse off most control effects and also increase his range and damage output. He can be a very useful pick against most meta heroes because of his tremendous range and control effects that can lock down enemies from a significant distance. The only issue with Valir is all of his skills can be dodged easily by a hero with tremendous mobility and immunity. You might want to avoid heroes like Lancelot, Kagura, and Martis. The only thing stopping Valentina from performing well are the players themselves, who fail to copy the most ideal ultimates for the current situation they are in. But in the hands of someone capable, she can be one of the most troublesome heroes that can literally use her enemy's strengths against them by copying their ultimates. The only problem with Valentina is she does not benefit so much from other heroes' ultimates, so picking heroes with ultimates that does not benefit her is a good way of countering her presence. You might want to avoid heroes like Valir, Gushan, and Popol and Koopa. Eve is a very good hero in teamfights because of her tremendous range and outstanding damage output. Especially now that Mincythar has been revamped, she can really be a very useful ally and has the potential to shut down most lineups. Also, Eve is immune to most control effects while channeling her ultimate, except for suppression of course. Another issue with Eve is her lack of blink or dash skills, and the bane of all mages, their squishiness. You might want to avoid heroes like Kaja, Franco, and Farsa. Diggy is the best hero against heroes that rely heavily on control effects to be successful. His ultimate is literally the ultimate weapon against control effects and can render some heroes close to useless. Since Diggy's job is to protect allies at all costs, he is ideally built with defensive equipment and can be very useful in vision control whether he is alive or dead, thanks to his passive that allows him to roam around even after getting killed. The only problem with Diggy is some enemies do not rely on control effects. Well, if those enemies are picked, Diggy's ultimate is useless. Heroes that rely on straightforward damage to wipe out teams are excellent picks against him. Also, despite his powerful ultimate, it still won't be enough to cleanse suppression. You might want to avoid heroes like Kaja, Hilda, and Franco. Faramis is a hero capable of turning the tides of battle instantly for an entire team because of his ultimate that's capable of protecting his allies from death. His first skill is also capable of pulling enemies towards him whilst causing tremendous damage thanks to his second skill. What I like about Faramis is he can be deadly effective whether he is played as a mid laner or a roamer. The only problem with Faramis is his allies need to be close by in order to take advantage of his ultimate's dead immunity. Therefore, heroes that are capable of separating him from the team can be very troublesome for him. Avoid heroes like Akai and Yin. In addition to those heroes, Valentina is also an excellent counter. Not only does she boast greater damage and impact than Faramis thanks to her passive, first skill and second skill, she can also use Faramis' own strength against him by copying his ultimate. Estes is a hero with unmatched healing capabilities thanks to his ridiculous ultimate that greatly heals ailing allies tethered to him. The only issue with Estes is when the tether he has with his teammates gets broken. He is extremely squishy though, so make sure to invest on a lot of defensive items to keep him alive. If you're thinking of getting Estes, it might be a good idea to avoid heroes like Akai and Yin. Basha is also another hero to watch out for because of his ability to render Estes' healing abilities close to useless thanks to Basha's passive and ultimate. Joy is a very nimble, resilient, and agile assassin capable of running across the battlefield with ease while dealing damage on multiple enemies. To make matters worse, she even has crowd control immunity, which makes pinning her down pretty challenging for most heroes. Despite her control immunity, she is still a fairly squishy hero once you stop her from casting her skills, and since suppression cannot be cleansed, it might be a good idea to avoid heroes like Kaja and Franco. Mincitar can also be a strong hero against her. He does, however, need to have allies around him to secure her death. In a 1v1 situation though, Joy can still outmaneuver the almighty spear. Aemon can be a problem for a lot of heroes, especially squishes, because of his tremendous damage output that can eliminate enemies instantly. His cloaking ability also allows him to avoid target locking skills and either escape danger or get a better position in order to take a kill. The problem with Aemon is his own strength. Since he deals multi-stage magic damage, Radiant Armor can really nullify his skill's damage tremendously. Now, if you really want to eliminate his impact, get Athena's Shield. High HP heroes can be a headache as well, especially those that are normally equipped with Vengeance. And let's not forget that his cloaking ability can be dispelled if he is hit by a non-targeting skill. If you're thinking of picking Aemon, it might be a good idea to avoid heroes such as Saber, Valir, and X-Borg. Saber is a very useful assassin in teamfights thanks to his blades that are capable of reducing enemies' armors. But what makes him special is his ability to automatically delete a lot of heroes while keeping them airborne for a long period of time. The only problem with Saber is his ultimate. Contrary to what most people think, it's not suppression and is therefore removable. In addition to Purify, heroes with cleansing abilities can be such a headache for Saber. If you're thinking of getting Saber, it might be a good idea to avoid heroes like Valir, 1-1, and Argus. There you go, those are the heroes that I think will leave a mark in Season 28. What do you think? If you were to replace some of the heroes here, who would it be and who would you replace it with? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe everyone. Peace.